Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be knocking up one of the Hemingway's kits, this kit being the Machinist hammer. I purchased a couple of the kits, I'm probably going to purchase a few more of them as well. This is really just to aid in my learning, hopefully being a little bit more accurate, following the plans that come in the box. I didn't read a single word of that written page, but I did follow the pictures. I have deviated in a couple of places, I will point those out in the video. In the box you get a couple of pieces of mild steel, a piece of bronze and a piece of aluminium, all for 15 quid plus postage. I didn't think it was too bad at all, and yeah, it should hopefully be a lovely hammer. Enjoy the video. So first part of the build I'm going to be tackling is going to be the handle. First, I'm marking up the stock with a bit of blue Dicam, my favourite go-to marking out fluid. Just marking my length, just going to face the part off, and I'm actually going to come back and remark the length because I marked the length before I face the end off. A little bit of a spot drill. Fantastic thing about the collet lathe is you can manoeuvre your part in and out of the collet quite easily. So yeah, I've marked it up, I've slid it into a nice stick out from the collet. Just turning this first end down to be prepared, ready for threading. I'm going 1/4 BSF on the fitting here, and just sneaking up on that measurement. Tidy the end up with a little bit of file, a little bit of tie on it, and just using a die holder and just winding it on by hand. Back it off. I'm going to flip the die around so I can get a good cut all the way up to the shoulder. And yeah, nicely done. Just a little bit of a finish up on the end, a little bit of a tidy up of the threads. Then time to position it to turn the rest of the features of the handle. So again, marking out with my blue Dicam, speed things up in the drying time with a heat gun, and just laying out some lines here for grooves in the handle. The plans call for 3 notches. I'm going for 5 just to be a little bit different. And I've actually got the taper turning attachment set up on the hard hinge here. Now the taper turning attachment is the piece at the back of the slide bar furthest away from me, and what you do is you loosen off the nut on the slide itself so it free moves, and you set your angle on the bar at the back, and that pushes the slide into the correct amount of taper. First couple of passes I do about 1 degree, just trying to get that first cut in to get a feel for how the angle's looking, and I've just notched it up to about 3 degrees here, and I think 3.5 degrees is my finished dimension on this this taper part. It gives you a start measurement and an end measurement, but here I'm just winging it a little bit, not really going by the measurement, just going by what look right. And yeah, just a few passes, notching in a little bit at a time. Start with a nice tool, just an insert head, and finish up with a rounded cutting tool so I can get a nice little profile at the end of the taper. And here I'm just finishing it off with a bit of 120 grit emery cloth, just getting nice and polished. Then I go back in with a worn piece of 120, so it's a much finer grade, and then I finish it off with a piece of Scotch-Brite just as a nice polished finish. Now I'm turning the features of the handle, where I'm putting some nice little grooves. The first groove is actually going at the end of the taper, so you don't really see the difference in direction as much from the taper section to the straight section. Then I flip the piece around, part off what I don't need, and then I'm going to come in with a ball tool and round the end over. Setup on this can be a little bit tricky, but you basically set the center to your workpiece, or set the tool height, sorry, to the center of the workpiece on the end, and then you can set the depth of cut to the side of your workpiece. And then it's just small passes, keeping a bit of downward pressure on the handle just so you keep a consistent cut, and just nudging it in bit by bit incrementally until you've got a nice rounded finish. Again, coming in with a nice diamond file, that fine emery cloth, and finishing off with the Scotch-Brite. Moving it over to the mill, I've got it in the indexing head. The plan calls for 2 flats to be filed into the handle. I'm a big fan of putting hexagons on things, so here I'm gonna put 6 faces onto it, and a quick check measurement halfway through. I can wind the near the bed up so I can take it down to the 7/16 spanner size, and then I'm just going to clean that up on the wire wheel. Looks fantastic. Next part I'm making here is going to be the nut that secures the handle to the head of the hammer. So I started by facing off the end of the bar stock, then I'm drilling a hole in the end to be tapped for the 1/4 BSF. Just a little bit of cutting fluid on there to help out, and because it's a blind hole, I'm going to finish this off with a tap handle, so I'm not going a mechanical feed for the tapping process here, because it hits the bottom, you've got a chance of snapping that tap. Marking up with a bit of blue dicam again, and marking out for the depth of the nut. So it's got a smooth outer part of the nut, and then it's turned down to fit a hole through the middle of the handle, and then there's a top hat section at the top, which is the original stock size, which is the 1/2 inch. I think I've got 1/2 inch at the top, and then it stepped down to like 7/16 for the nut. A little bit of a clean up with the file, parting off here, clean up the file before I've fully parted off. Now this is a part I'm probably going to come back and revisit, because I actually drilled my hole a little bit too deep, so the hole goes all the way through, where the plan calls for it to be a blind hole. I just miscalculated the depth of my drill bit. But moving that over to the milling machine, I've got the slotting head in the mill. I'm setting me height. I've got the part held in the collet. Unfortunately, I didn't fix the part properly, so I've got a double score line here. So again, another reason for me revisiting the part, but for now it does its job, and that's basically that. Okay, now on to machining the hammerhead. Now this starts off in the 3 jaw on the hard hinge, just because I've got to make something round to start with, and the biggest collet for this lathe is a 1-inch collet. It is actually the final dimension. This bar stock comes in about an inch, a 40 thou over an inch, so it's going to help me by turning the first tenon end. So this first end I've got to turn down to 1/2 inch, and that tenon's inside the aluminium head of the hammer. And then when I come to flip the part over, I will hold it using this tenon end. So yeah, it's just a nice easy way to get the ball rolling, really, because I'm going to need to reposition this part. This first operation in the 3 jaw doesn't matter too much for accuracy. So I've turned to final dimension, going in with a little bit of a taper tool just to clean that end off. So just put a little bit of a chamfer on the end, make it all nice and tidy. Final check of my measurement. Now I've flipped it around and I've got it in the collet. So here I just putting some rough layout onto the overall length. So first of all I'm turning it down to overall length. Then I'm going to do a skim pass down the length of the barrel of the hammerhead. I want to keep as much material as possible. As I say, it's only 40 thou over an inch, but it does clean up nicely. Really do like working with bronze. A little bit of a polish up again with the emery cloth and Scotch-Brite, and I just need to figure out my dimensions for my layouts for a small amount of a doming on the end of it. I think it's only like a 1/16 of an inch doming on the end, and then I need to lay out for the 2 grooves that get cut into the hammerhead, and also a centre position for where I'm going to end up boring the hole through the middle. And once I've finished doming, I've just a little bit of clean up again with the emery and Scotch-Brite, and then coming in now with the it's a small bull nose profile tool just for cutting grooves in. So laid out my centre hole first, and from there I can then lay out my 2 grooves, and just plunging in around about 40 thou on the depth of these grooves. They're not really specific in measurement. Now on to turn the aluminium head, so starting again in the 3-jaw chuck, purely because it's too big for our largest collet. I clean the end up, and then I'm going to come in and start putting the hole in it. I'll have another go at clean up. Yeah, I've probably just missed a little bit off the edge of it, because these things are cut on bandsaws. And straight away here, this is probably one of the best mistakes I made. I went straight in with a 1/2 inch end mill, which I've got a 1/2 inch tenon and a 1/2 inch end mill, and it's ended up just a little bit baggy fit. It goes nearly all the way up to the shoulder quite easily. So what I've done is I've dimpled the end of the tenon. It basically just uses a centre punch, put a load of dots in it, and then using the tailstock I've pushed it on with a good dollop of Loctite. I've never really worked with aluminium before, and this is a little bit frustrating, getting that bird nest going on when I'm turning. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but one thing I did notice is aluminium gets hot very, very quickly, and so I don't destroy the glue bond. Every now and again I'm taking the part out, I'm taking it up to a quench tank, and I'm dunking it in cold water just to stop it getting too hot. So when you see me wander off into the distance, that's me going and cooling the part off and coming back and having another crack at the whip. So again, turning this down to the 1 inch diameter to match the rest of the hammerhead. Just checking my measurement. And the good thing with having the grooves in the hammerhead is when you're turning, you stop at the groove. It doesn't really show if you're not quite at the same dimension. Just checking my length here, and I'm going to turn a small portion off the end of it, bringing the stock to its final length. Then coming back in with a good sharp file and just doming the end off again, just like the other end. Just take any sharp corner off it really, just so when you are striking things you're not putting dings in it. And again, polished up with a bit of emery cloth and Scotch-Brite. And that's that. So moving over onto the Bridgeport mill, back into the indexing head. So the first hole I'm going to cut here is going to be a 7/16 hole all the way through. And that's basically the same size as that nut I manufactured. So yeah, just got to try and get it as far through as possible. And then I come in with a 1/2 inch cutter to create a pocket for the top of the nut and also the top of the handle. So the feature at the top of the nut and the top of the handle, top hat feature, it sits sub flush of the surface. So I believe it's 120 thou in on one side and 200 thou in the other. One thing I noticed straight away is I had an undersided cutter, so I had to do it twice. Back into the mill, final polish up, just a little bit of getting rid of any blemishes. And on to the end of this project really, just screwing it all together. Now I've not put any Loctite in here because I am going to revisit it and redo the nut for the top because I'm not quite happy with it. Got a very, very tight 7/16 spanner fit here. Probably going to come back in and polish that just a little bit as well to allow the spanner to slip on a little bit easier. But yeah, get it nice and tight in. And the good thing about the offset of the head on this is the aluminium side actually balances out quite well because of the weight of aluminium compared to bronze. So that offset head, it doesn't affect the swing of it. And yeah, that's it done. Good project. And thank you very much for watching. Please do like this video, make some comments, and please subscribe.